Thanks, Ryan, for that marvellous introduction. North Belfast is home to some of Belfast's most prominent successes and talents. We've got Corr-Johnston, Paddy Barnes, Terry Bradley, Mary McAleese and Sir Kenneth Branagh. These people are influencers, role models that have inspired that spirit of possibility and put my little part of Northern Ireland on the map. But North Belfast is also home to that kid that watched ER or Casualty with her mum on a Saturday night and dreamed up this dream of becoming a paramedic when she grew up. The closest that that kid would get to fulfilling those dreams would be a stethoscope under the Christmas tree. In fact, those hopes and aspirations that that child had for herself would dissolve much like a rich tea would in her granny's creamy coffee. Particularly when she grew up, she got into big school and struggled to fit in, struggled to keep up. But it wasn't just her that had no faith in her abilities. Her teachers recognised this too, warning her mum that their daughter was going to amount to nothing other than a Ballysillen Millie. Scars would then mount on that child's arms, and she would attempt suicide, not once, but twice. Eventually dropping out of school, being tutored at home, and miraculously somehow scraping past her GCSEs, moving from one low-paid, low-skilled job to another. Often living hand-to-mouth in a private rental that was cold, that was damp, so damp that she had purchased a world map canvas and put it over the damp wall. I was that child, and that map is mine, and that map now hangs in my office in North Belfast, not as a reminder of how far I've come, but how far we still need to travel to make North Belfast a better place to live. You see, I needed a champion. I needed someone to stick their head up above the parapet to end that cycle of unmet need and alter the course of repetition. But they never came. And maybe that's our problem in working class North Belfast. Maybe we are so prepared to sit in our hands and wait until someone decides to actually stop bickering about flags and a border poll that may never come and actually deal with the real issues on the ground, the bread and butter issues. Give people who are at the end of their rope that extra few feet to pull themselves up with. Well, I'm done waiting on that night in shining armour, riding into the community that I live in, that I love. I think it's now time that people who have lived, breathed and experienced North Belfast, what it's like to actually grow up there, stood up for the people of North Belfast. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm your candidate for North Belfast. But my story is only part of that wider North Belfast story. Our people there are the least educated, they're the least qualified. Educational underachievement and academic selection, or rather social selection, has actually crushed the fingertips of kids that have dared to reach beyond their rung on the class ladder. Of all 18 parliamentary constituencies in Northern Ireland, North Belfast is in the top 3 with the highest levels of unemployment. It's the second most multiply deprived, and it's the constituency with the least skilled workforce. Low pay, a lack of employment opportunities and increasing non-flexible household bills such as our taxes and our rates have only served to exacerbate existing poverty, food, fuel and financial. But worse than that, and perhaps most alarming, is that North Belfast has the highest rates of suicide in Northern Ireland. And yet for all of those problems that North Belfast has, it remains that Dodds and Finnegan battleground. Every election in North Belfast is a constitutional show of strength rather than a vote for socio-economic change, and that is what needs to change. North Belfast has a lot of untapped potential that could, with the right representatives, with the political will and socially weighted investment, actually transform the lives of the people that live there. Of course, someone might argue, well, North Belfast is set to benefit from £93 million of investment into the Giants Park. Now, Giants Park is this groundbreaking trailblazing regeneration initiative which is turning a former landfill site into this new development that currently houses Belfast Film Studios. We're getting a new hotel, we're getting a petrol station, an adventure playground, and a world-class golfing experience. And all of that does sound really exciting. However, unless the conditions in North Belfast actually change, it's quite likely that the products and the services that are on offer at that site are going to be unaffordable to the people that live there. I might also point to the £10 million facelift that we're set to get for York Gate train station, or the £165 million that's planned for the York Street interchange. And they might ask, well, what more could you actually want? Well, what I want is for those investors, those decision makers, those people in power to actually ask themselves, who in this community is going to benefit from this investment and how? Because if we're honest, very few ever do. Trains is one example. Trains quite literally pass through North Belfast into Newton Abbey without stopping. So they're passing Duncrew Industrial Estate, Seaview Football Stadium, and Abbey Centre, all without stopping. All the while, the residents that live in that area are putting up with the noise and the 3 a.m. washing of the carriages. And that's much of the North Belfast story. It's all of the annoyances, but very few of the benefits. I mentioned socially weighted investment. Well, for me, that's outcomes-based accountability. That means 2, potentially 3 stops on that route that would enable greater cross-city, cross-community connectivity. It would grow the local economy. The benefits are obvious. And it would break down those barriers to outer city employment for the residents in North Belfast. It's also those employment academies preparing for the Giants Park that are training and upskilling people of all ages, empowering them and equipping them with the skills that they need to lead the change they want to see in their own lives. Preparing to reap the dividends of that capital investment on their doorstep. For me, social value isn't numbers on a paper or numbers on a calculator. It's the impact in people's homes, the impact that it has on their lives. And I feel that's what matters to the people in North Belfast, people like me, who are fed up with this perpetual petty cycle of constitutional dominance over material well-being. They deserve better, and my kids, who will grow up in North Belfast, deserve better. Your kids deserve better. And so when we're taken to the streets and knock on those doors in North Belfast, we're taking a message of hope and ambition. A cradle degree of manifesto that will put people, not the politics of the past, not partition, but people at the heart of public policy. A manifesto that should empower and enable that electorate to finally shake off those shackles of fear and division.